Let's see how we can solve this Math Olympiad problem. We are given a right triangle and the lengths of the three sides are given. This length x, that's x squared, and this is x cubed. It's given that x is positive and asking us to find what x is. How to find x? Because this is a right triangle, we know that we can use Pythagorean result to relate these lengths. What the Pythagorean theorem says, if you remember, we have a right triangle. Let's say this side is A and that side is B and the hypotenuse is of length C. Then the square value of the hypotenuse is equal to sum of the square values of the lengths of the two legs. This and that. Using that, if we write down for this triangle, it will be x cubed, which is our hypotenuse. Square value of that should be equal to sum of the square values of the other two legs. So should be equal to x squared plus x squared entire thing to power 2. Then we simplify this a little bit. This can be simplified. We have that formula to work with. A to the power m entire thing to power n is simply a to the power m times n. This has the same format. So once we eliminate parentheses, it will be x to the power 3 times 2, which is 6, is equal to x squared. Here it will be applying the same, x to the power 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Then if I take all the terms to one side, x to the power 6, subtracting x to the power 4, and also subtracting x to the power 2, we will get terms like that on the left. And we see that for all these three terms, an x square term is common. If I factor that common x square term out, another x to the power 4 term will be remaining here, minus another x to the power 2 term, minus 1 should be 0. We can always double check by distributing again if we get all these terms back. X to the power 2 times x to the power 4 will give x to the power 6. It's according to this formula that we need to simplify those. If we have a to the power m times a to the power n, then the base is the same. We simply add the exponents and write it as a common power, common exponent, like that. So x to the power 2 times x to the power 4, we have to add the powers. 2 plus 4 will be 6. We get that term back. When we multiply these, x to the power 2 times x to the power 2 will be x to the power 2 plus 2, which will be x to the power 4. With the sign being negative, it will be negative. And here we will get negative x squared as well when we multiply these two. Therefore, nothing wrong with writing this like that in the factored form. Now we have a product equals 0. You remember we have a principle called the zero product principle. If we have like two terms like a times b is equal to 0, this can happen if and only if either a is 0 or b is 0 or both 0, which we write like that. So for this to happen, either x squared should be 0 or x to the power 4 minus x squared minus 1. The other factor should be 0. And this will give us x to be 0. But since x needs to be positive, this cannot be. Then we are only left with that piece. So let's try to solve that one further. X to the power 4 minus x to the power 2 minus 1 is equal to 0. How to solve this? We can rewrite this by converting it to quadratic form. We can rewrite this like x to the power 2 to the power 2 minus x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. Now if we use a little substitution like y to be x squared This will be like y squared minus y minus 1 is equal to 0. It's a quadratic equation in variable y. We can solve it for y. That means we will know what x squared. From that we can find what x is. And that will be the length of this side. And once we know x, we can find what x squared and x cubed as result, the lengths of all three sides. So let's try to find what y is from this equation. So how to find y from this? We know that we have quadratic formula that we can use. If we have equation in this form like ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, then the solutions of this are given by, in other words, the values x can take are given by x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times ac, entire thing divided by 2 times a, where a, b, c are the values of these coefficients. So applying the same thing here, y will be equal to negative b, b is negative 1, comparing with that form. The coefficient of x to the power 1 term, here the coefficient of y to the power 1 term is negative 1. So that's b plus or minus b squared will be again negative 1 squared minus 4 times the value of a is 1 and value of c is negative 1, comparing it with that. Divide everything by 2 times the value of a is 1 as well. And if we simplify this a little bit, we will get negative, negative, it will be positive. So it's positive 1 plus or minus. Here inside we get negative 1 squared, which is again positive 1. And negative times negative will be positive, it will be positive 4. Divide everything by 2. This, if we further simplify, will be 1 plus or minus square root of 5 divided by 2. And one of the solutions for y will be when we consider plus, and the other will be when we consider minus. And from this, we will get y to be 1 plus square root of 5 divided by 2. Or the other solution, y is equal to 1 minus square root of 5 divided by 2. And square root of 5 is 2 point some value. So 1 minus that will be negative. So y will be negative. And y is x squared, a square term which cannot be negative. Therefore, this is not an acceptable solution. Therefore, only thing that we are left with is y is equal to 1 plus root 5 over 2. What we need is to find x. And we know y is, in terms of x, it is x squared. So let's use that relation that we have. Y is equal to 1 plus square root of 5 divided by 2. So y we know is x squared in terms of x. So x squared should be equal to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2. If x squared is that, applying the square root property, you remember if we have anything to power 2, a complete square is equal to like a value form, then that thing is equal to plus or minus square root of what is on the right hand side. So applying the same here, x will be equal to plus or minus square root of 1 plus square root of 5 over 2. Again, one of the solutions for x will be plus square root of 1 plus root 5 over 2. The other will be x is equal to minus square root of 1 plus root 5 over 2. and x is the length, and it needs to be positive to start with, if you remember, needs to be positive, therefore cannot be negative. So x cannot be this solution. Therefore, the only solution is x is equal to square root of 1 plus root 5 over 2. And that will be the length of this side, and its square will be the length of that side, and its cube will be the length of that side. Like that, we can solve this Math Olympiad problem. I hope you learned something from this. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel. We will see again with a similar video. Thank you.